Hello to everybody. I appreciate your watching the other videos and your comments, especially about what we've talked about. This is what this is all about. Really, is what you feel like you need to know more about, or what we can help you learn some more about. I've learned some things already from some of the folks who have sent some ideas in, and I hope you have too. Today we're talking about. Last time we talked about food, and then or the time before, and then we went over a little bit of kind of the mental aspect of survival. And today what we're going to talk about is food's one of the primary needs. The most primary of needs, though, is really water. And if you notice when we talked about a lot of the foods, a lot of them you had to have water to reconstitute the food and such like that with. So today we'll talk about water, and what we want to do is kind of address how you can get it, where it comes from, then how you can store it, and then also how you can purify it, because it's not of much use otherwise. What we've got at our house is we've got several different things. We've got a water catchment system off of the gutters of the house, and you can see this here. The water catchment is such that I have a large container. It's about 65 gallons that's lifted up off the ground so that it can access the water off the gutters. And then it also has a gravity feed so that I can use it to water my garden and all the plants and things around with. It's pretty good. It does. I did kind of, you can see that I painted it a kind of a strange dark color, and the paint's peeling right now. The reason I did that was because algae was growing in it, and it was a clear container. You can buy containers that are not clear. Some of these are expensive. This one I got from Tractor Supply, and it was not too bad. I just recently bought about 4 old pickle barrels that they smell like dill pickles, but they'll be able to store water and are already food safe, so that's a good thing. One thing you might want to watch out about is buying containers and knowing what's previously been stored in the container, or cleaning it out sufficiently. But this stores 65 gallons. We can also store in some other types of containers. Most of you have bought, bottled water and things like that off the shelves, and you may have a couple of cases or so of bottled water. And that's fine. That's probably a good idea, because it's stuff you can access readily and things. We also store some water in a couple of these containers. This is a pretty big sort of container. I think this one holds 6 or 7 gallons. And it's real heavy, so you want to store it somewhere that'll support the weight. You're probably not upstairs. One thing that you have is that people don't realize it, but when they're seeing a thing like a hurricane approaching or something like that, a lot of people will fill up a bathtub just to access water if they need water from the bathtub. And that's a real good idea, because for short term, it's a great time, way to store some water, and for the short term use. We can also store water. We have a pond nearby, and we can look at that as stored water. The one problem would be if I have to walk to the pond carrying water that far, it's about a quarter of a mile away, is such that it would be too difficult to do. What I can do is I can take my tank, and if I don't have rainwater in the tank, I can fill it at the pond by putting it on a trailer behind the car or the tractor and doing that sort of thing. One thing I have seen, I saw a little girl hauling 5-gallon buckets upstairs, three stairs over in Nepal, and she was filling up a water tank for people to have for the day. So you can do it. It's difficult and it's a lot of work, but it can be done. Rainwater access is a real easy way to doing it. Storing it is a good way of doing. It's a nice idea to keep a lot of water stored, just because you go through it so quickly. One thing that people use a lot of water for is flushing toilets. And remember, you don't have to flush every time. I know it might sound gross to a lot of people, but you just don't. And the bad thing is we hopefully commonly, would immediately flush. And you almost have to remind yourself not to until you really need to, just to conserve that water, because it takes 1.5 gallons or 1.6 gallons now to flush a toilet. Now, once you have water, one of the things that you really need to make sure that you can do is drink it or use it for foods. There are several different ways of doing this. One way is to purify it by heat. You can actually boil the water, and as soon as you reach a boil, really you've killed the bacteria and things. There's some bacteria that you have to autoclave that will, it's anaerobic bacteria that ends up being a problem if you don't reach a high enough temperature. Some people say boil for 10 minutes. I'll leave it up to you. I think that's a little long. I get impatient anyway, so I probably wouldn't wait 10 minutes of boiling water to drink, to have water purified to drink. But heat is definitely a way of killing the things that are in the bacteria in the water. One thing you want to do before you do that is probably run it through some sort of filter. You can run water through a bandana just to get the big pieces out, some sort of cloth filter or whatever. If you have other sort of filters, maybe a 2-liter Coke bottle that you've made into a sand gravel filter is a good way to do a preliminary filtration of water. But it won't kill bacteria, and it won't kill other sorts of things that would be in there. The heat would definitely do that. One thing we can rely on too is chemicals to kill some of the bacteria. One thing that most of you have around the house is Clorox, and you have to watch out about what kind of Clorox you use. Some of the Clorox is scented, and it really won't kill bacteria. There's other that's the low splash variety that really won't kill bacteria. You got to get the regular old Clorox, and it's 8 drops per gallon to purify water. And if I were you, I'd leave it sitting for probably about 30 to 45 minutes after you treat it to make sure that it's properly purified. You can do larger volumes if you want to, calculate how many teaspoons or whatever you have per certain number of gallons of water. But Clorox is a great thing, easily stored, and it stores for a long period of time and can purify water. One thing that we have on hand too are some water purification tablets, and these are the ones that we have. These are iodine, and this is iodine tablet, and this is the one that neutralizes the iodine. One good thing about iodine, it does a great job of purifying the water. One bad thing is it tastes bad. And the other bad thing is that if you have a thyroid condition or such, iodine might not want to be the best thing that you have, that you're taking to purify your water. You might want to search for something else. And we do have a chlorine-based one, which is this is AquaPure, and I'll show you a close-up of these too. But here's AquaPure. It's a chlorine-based tablet that you can put in the water, leave it for about 30 minutes, and then it'll purify the water. These are probably about a quart per tablet, so it'll work really easy. We use these when we camp because you can drop a tablet in it, be hiking, and while you're hiking, it's purifying in your backpack or whatever like that. So it's a real easy way of purifying water. I would still, again, pre-filter if you have real silty water, pre-filter through a bandana or something like that into a water bottle. One other type of way of treating water is by filtration. And I've got several different types of filters here. Some of them are what we call active filters, where you actually have to pump them. Here's one that's probably one of the nicest active filters out there, and this is a Katahdin is what it is. There it is, Katahdin. But this is called a pocket filter, but I don't know whose pocket it would fit in. But what it will do is it'll pump about 3,000 gallons before you really, run into a problem or so. The good thing about this one is it has an abrasive cleaner in the little kit that you can clean the ceramic filter. But this will purify pretty much all the bacteria and all the germs and stuff that you'd have coming through there. Only really, really small stuff can get through. But this is a great filter. The bad thing is that you have to pump to get a certain, volume of water. And it's not that slow. One thing you do want to watch out about is silt. You don't want to put it in the mud or whatever. You want to put it in the upper layer. And it's got a little float that'll keep the intake at the surface so that you won't draw things off the bottom. But there's one type of filter. This is an older filter that I have that we've used with backpacking, and it works the same way. This is a pure, sweet water is the one that makes it now, but it has the intake and outtake, but it works like this, and you can pump and filter water. This one's a lot smaller. This one's more packable. It also is lighter, so you can take it with you wherever you go. So if you want to go somewhere, usually it's interesting though, because I'll take these, and I've actually put some of my iodine tablets in here and labeled it iodine. But I put some iodine tablets in here, and I keep this in the container with this filter. And the reason is I've had this thing clog up on me on camping trips before and stuff. So if you're around the house and you've got it clogging up and it's not any good, the tablets will counteract what you've got there. One other type of filter that we have is actually for home filtering and such. If you've got a lot of people, here's our kind of big filter. And what this is, and I'll show it to you, this has a spout at the bottom. It's got two these are actually food containers that I ordered some Wise food, and this is what it came in. But between these two containers is a filter right in here, and I'll show you this in this picture. But you can see that there's a cotton covering around a ceramic filter. And this does a great job because what you do is you fill the top part with water. It just uses gravity to put the water into the bottom part. Now you've got purified water down here. And then it's got a spout on this little kit where you take the spout and you can empty your water out there. So what you can have is you can probably have about 4 or 5 gallons of water just sitting there ready to use. And that's a good thing because you're not having to constantly pump the water. You're not having to kind of see what goes on there. So it works out real well. So for a group situation, this is probably a little bit better thing to have around. One thing that we don't think about a lot is just conserving water. You really want to be careful of how much water you use and such. One person wrote me the other day and said about foods, they said when you get canned foods, make sure that when you get beans or such, make sure that you get the ones that have a lot of water in it. Because that can of beans has liquid in it. That liquid can be consumed with the food itself. So you've got those sort of things to think about, and it's a good thing. So with water, water's an essential. You need it. You got to have it. We use it to reconstitute our foods with, but we also use it just to drink. It's estimated that we use about 100 gallons of water per day when we're at our normal sort of thing. You probably need to intake a pretty good bit. Some people say a gallon a day. I can rely on less than that. It's up to you as far as a person. But one thing you might want to watch is if your urine starts turning really yellow, you're dehydrated. If your skin ends up pinching up and staying there, you're dehydrated. So make sure you get some water. That's an essential sort of thing. So I hope this was helpful to you. Accessing water, purifying water, making it possible so that you can survive just a little bit longer where you are without being terribly inconvenienced. And that thing, I think, is the key. Make your convenience level as good as you can. And what it does is it helps that mental attitude because you're not undergoing a terrible set of circumstances, and you can get through that. So good luck to you. Hope you're faring well, and I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have any questions or such, please just send me a note or something on the comments, and subscribe or like it, and that always helps with things. But I appreciate it, and hope you have a great day.